Greetings, and welcome to my channel. This is Sorcerer Tal. You can also find me on Facebook in the Sorcerer's Guild. Today on Sorcery Self-Defense, we are finally going to be talking about throwing wit. Now, what do I mean by that? Now, as I was talking about in the last video where I actually mentioned this, wit is the concept behind an object, the information that makes up what it is. And this is going to be important to us as the Sorcery Self-Defense series continues, because once we know how to throw the wit, we can put intent into the blows and strikes that we give to a much stronger degree. But also, it affects our offensive magic on an astral and mental level as well, because once we have learned exactly the weight and feel of an object, that gives us something more to imagine we are throwing when we cast energy for energy workings of any type. Once we get used to the idea of throwing, not just the matter or the energy, but the information behind that. So, the way that we are going to be learning to do this is with material objects, because that's where we are most able to feel that sensation, the information that makes up the object. Now, of course, the thing we are all the most familiar with is balls. You want to start with a ball, one like this, or you can get a squishy one. These are actually juggling balls, but I'm not going to be juggling today. That would be another way to get really into the idea of the balls, is because as you juggle them, you really have to learn the information of what the ball is. But we're going to be working with throwing knives, because that's something that I understand better. Frankly, I can't juggle. I do have some juggling balls, but if you can juggle, that is a good place to start getting rid of that, getting used to that information, or even just, because throwing knives isn't all that easy of a skill to learn right off the bat either. You can start with just throwing and catching a ball, getting used to the weight of it, learning it, memorizing it, so that you can remember what it's like. You throw the ball without the ball and understand the weight of it, and feeling. Okay, so, anyways, as I said, we're mostly going to be concerning ourselves with throwing knives, because they are a perfect explanation for this idea. With a throwing knife, there are a few different techniques. Most of these knives are actually, that I have here, are actually no-spin knives, which the idea is to throw the knife and keep it from spinning at all as you throw it forward, and those actually have very little to do with the distance. And it's a very useful technique, but it's the harder of those, it's the harder of the ones to learn, and it has less to do with the knife itself and the weight and the length, which is very important when you're throwing half spin, which is the technique we're going to be discussing. It's actually the easier to learn, even though there's a little more information that you have to calculate. It's the easier to learn, and in a defense situation, half spin is the one that's very easy to do quickly. No spin, it's a little less instinctual, and it's for greater distances. Half spin, well, it only goes the distance that it's going to take that knife to straighten out and hit. But like I said, it's very good for instinctual stuff like this, when you just turn and immediately throw. Now, that type of knife, like I said, is very good at the no spin, and it sticks very well. But that was actually a half spin technique. I'm not quite sure if you're able to see the full thing. But the important part, again, is to understand the knife and know how long it's going to take to get from here to there. Just like axe throwing. Like if you go to one of those axe throwing places, this is another great place to develop this technique, and very easy to do there would be to go to one of the axe throwing places, because they have it all lined out for you. You go up to a spot on the floor and you hold the axe and throw it at the target, and as long as you throw it from where they told you to, it's gonna stick when it hits there. So that's a great way to learn this idea of throwing the wit. It's there. Myself, I have been learning it through throwing knives and practicing for quite a while. I'm still not exactly a master at it, so I'm not going to guarantee every knife that I throw during this video is going to stick. and I don't feel like editing because that feels false to me. So we're just going to go ahead and go right through it. So what we do is you get the feel of the knife in your hands, and you remember that information. Memorize that. You want to actually spend time meditating on the object that you choose and getting used to it, feeling it, knowing the weight, size, the distance. And then when you actually throw it, of course, it's going to matter the distance of the target, because you want to have that flow of what you're doing actually working, so that when you're throwing energy and imagining that you're throwing that thing, you have it memorized as doing it right and having it strike on target, so that that is part of the information flow that you have when you are then using this technique to direct energy itself at a target. And this is a way to learn to actually be able to throw energy across the room much more effectively than not having the wit of the information. So you imagine the energy, the intent of whatever you wanted into that weight, into that information of the knife, and then throw it at the board, or throw it at your target, which could be, it doesn't have to be destructive even. Really just have that information of the knife, and then you could actually perhaps throw a blessing or a curse at someone from across the room. It's the same as if you were throwing a ball, if that's what you would learn to get good at, or a knife. Like I said, I recommend the knife because there's a lot of zen in this half spin technique, and it's easier to learn than you think. If you find it hard at first, closer you are, the easier it's going to be. Yeah? And there's also, I don't have a camera person, but a good way to start, and the easiest way to do this is just throw it directly at the ground. It's going to stick, you're going to get the learning, and you're going to get that motion down. And then once you've got that motion down, and that information of the knife, you can bring it up here, and hopefully do the same thing. That one, the point did hit, but I guess I didn't throw it hard enough. Paying too much attention to paying too much attention to talking, and not enough paying attention to the information of the words I was speaking, rather than paying attention to the information of the knife. So it didn't work as well. We're going to go ahead and try to stick this one. Right. We'll give it one more shot. So, anyways, I'm not exactly a professional at throwing knives. I have been getting better by using this technique. And like I said, in an actual survival situation or an emergency situation, this half spin quick throw, that's the best thing. And you're not going to assume, even with your intent of the knife, you can put intent to the knife, this is going to cause as much pain and distraction as possible, because that's all the more a knife throw is going to do, yeah? No matter how much energy and magic you put into it, unless you've got some kind of pound-and-a-half big Bowie knife you're throwing at somebody, it's something to cause a distraction, to let you get out your shiv, knife, or whatever else that you need after that, or to run away. Yeah? So if you're actually using the throwing knives in a defense situation and you're throwing the wit of the knife with the knife, the extra intent you want to put in there is to cause distraction, pain, and things that are going to allow you to get away. This is not something one throw, one minus a person is not how throwing knives work. They are a tool to get someone out of your way. You can throw up in this area, ideally. It's the area, obviously, is going to distract them the most. Anyways, so we will be talking more on throwing wit as we talk about things involving the mental plane that'll be going on for the next little while, some of our videos. So we will get back to this. But that's going to be it for this episode. Thank you once again for joining us. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please take the opportunity to do so now. Until next time, bright blessings and an interesting fate. This has been Sorcerer Tal.